Mindfulness moments. Hi, it's Jerry. I go by the pronouns he and him, they or them, and the pronoun per, which is short for person and perfection. Um, Today, we're going to be talking about love languages and focusing on physical touch. Let's get physical. Physical. Uh, Reminder, disclaimer, whatever you'd like to call it. During this time of the pandemic, during this time when we're asked to stay in our bubble, during this time when we have to pay attention about feeling safe and have gloves and masks and sanitizers and things like that on hand, I want you to pay attention to safety above all else. I'll give you tons of ideas for expressing and receiving this particular language of love, but it's a good reminder that we need to be safe about it. We need to be courteous about it, because the last thing we want to do is give someone a hug and then find out later, weeks later, that they're sick or they're unwell. It would be quite upsetting. It would take away from the intention of that being a language of love. And that's not something that we would like. So in speaking about love languages, and as we will focus on the one being physical touch for later on, I'm going to share a brief blurb with you about each of the love languages. I find that every time I talk about it and share it with you, I also become more aware in my life of the different ways that different people give me different love languages. And so it's always fun to share the same blurb over the course of making these videos, because every time I do, I think of something different to share with you. Every time I commit myself to these thoughts and to expressing myself and give that my undivided attention, I realize I'm blessed and inspired with something else that I can share with you or that I can tell you about. And hopefully by me sharing these examples or me talking about the ways that I feel these languages of love, or how to give these languages of love, that you're going to find the inspiration to do this for yourself. You're going to find the inspiration and the passion and the courage to now go forth and share it with others. Even though love languages, like I've said before, are good for honoring yourself, and you should be full of it, and you should practice on yourself as well, you should never forget that it's the main principles behind the way we're connecting with each other, behind the way we lift each other up, behind the way we value and validate one another. And all these things, once again, add to our emotional tank. So it keeps going over and it keeps filling up and it keeps becoming plentiful. And for people whose emotional tanks are full, they're able to do more. They're able to have more energy. They're able to think more positively. They're able to act more kindly. Versus if your emotional tank is empty, then you might be prone to sadness, anger, fear, frustration. You might resort to yelling, fighting, physical acts of violence. And so you're going to really have to examine where your tank is and make sure, as you're learning what love language is important to you, which ones to give yourself and which ones you like to receive from others. And because of your relationship with different people, it could be different love languages from different people. So really, my advice or suggestion or my heart work for you is that I want you to learn about the love languages and speak all 5 of them intentionally and explicitly and wholeheartedly and carefully with everyone. Because even though you may assume that one person's love language is one way, over the course of what's happened in their life and over time and over different experiences, it could change. And because it's not something that we have a name tag about, oh, well, my love language is physical touch. You don't see that right away. My invitation is every so often, every few encounters, every few weeks, upon seeing the same people, speak all 5 of these intentionally. And you'll notice if their emotional tank is filling up, they're gonna have a change in posture. They're gonna have a big smile on their face. They're gonna have gratitude in their hearts, and they may even tell you in words. So really, I invite you to pay attention as you're sharing these love languages with those around you, and you're gonna learn so much about the people that you come in contact with and the people that are in your life. So, my brief explanation on each of the love languages. Words of affirmation. Words of affirmation include compliments, words of encouragement, and praise. And like I've said in videos before, you can praise someone, you can encourage someone, right? You can do it, or great job. That's great. But I feel like that's level 1. And level 1 is, you're out there, you're doing it, but it's not level 3. It's not way high. It's not, level 10. And so in order to make these love languages known, or in order to make words of affirmation a higher level and more impactful, you're going to give examples, right? Great job with setting the table for dinner. Thank you. I wouldn't have remembered to put out serviettes or napkins for everyone. You remembered. Thank you. Or, you can do it. I've seen you do this before. Where you're giving someone courage, but you're also backing it up with an example. You're backing it up with an experience that they can relate to, so that whatever it is that helped them get through that at that time, they can recall on that. They can call on that energy. They can call on that moment. They can call on those experiences and go forth being stronger. This is especially important when you're encouraging someone, when you are giving courage to someone, when you are sharing compassion with someone, giving those examples and helping them link up the feelings that they've had when they experienced it last time is definitely very helpful. So for example, a student who's worried about an exam. Oh, I studied all night, but I'm still so nervous about it. It's tomorrow at 10 a.m. Well, you can do it, Jerry, because last midterm when you had the exam for math and you were studying every night, you aced it. You aced it. You learned every concept, and when the exam came, you answered every question. You showed your work. Notice how detailed this example is. So give as much detail as you can when you're able to give these examples of, along with those words of affirmation, because it's going to be more impactful. It's going to be more meaningful. It's going to be more insightful, especially if it's something that they've forgotten, right? You don't know if that person right now is running on a half tank or quarter tank emotional tank, so they may not be aware of their own successes. They may not have these positive thoughts in their head. But now, as you're giving courage to them, or as you're encouraging them, and you have these specific, concrete, real-life, lived experiences for examples, it's going to mean more. It's going to mean more than just saying, you can do it, you got this. Even though those phrases and words are so welcomed, and they're so loving, and it's so beautiful to hear, when you back it up with reasons and examples and real life experiences that person has been through, or when you're trying to give these words of affirmation to yourself and you're able to back it up from your own memory, experiences, and real life situations that you can relate to, it's going to stick around and resonate more. It's going to mean more. It's going to be more impactful. Once again, words of affirmation, they focus on values, characters, virtues demonstrated through behaviors, thoughts, and intention. Quality time. This includes spending quality time with an individual, giving undivided attention, no multitasking, to an individual or to yourself, by sharing genuine and authentic thoughts and feelings, by participating in activities that have meaning and purpose to the individual or have meaning and purpose to yourself. Interacting with those around you on their level for even mere minutes a day can help fill their emotional tank. So definitely worth repeating. It's worth remembering. You don't need to have a whole day to sit with someone to give them quality time. It can just be 30 seconds. It can just be sitting beside them when they're reading a book and you're reading a book. It's holding space. It's just being there. Receiving gifts, whether made or purchased, gifts show that you care and that you value the relationship. The value, the money value, or the price of the gift is irrelevant. Irrelevant. I don't need to know how much I can sell it on eBay. I don't need to know how much money it's worth. It's irrelevant. Um, but if it's, a cutout from a magazine of a celebrity that I have a crush on and you remembered and you wanted to give me that picture, or if it's you were walking in a card shop and you saw a funny picture on the card but you didn't have your wallet, so you went home and you drew that same picture and you wanted to give me that picture, that's amazing. That's even more priceless than you spending the money to buy something, because now not only do I know that it's a gift from you, but in creating that gift, you've given me a piece of your quality time. You've invested in that, like the painting that I have in my room, or like a drawing that a child has made for me, different things like that, arts and crafts that my friends have made for me. Not only is the actual gift the gift itself, but knowing that they spent time painting it, that they spent time woodworking or cutting the pieces or gluing it together, that they put love into it, that's going to mean more to me than someone having spent $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, because those things, more likely than not, are going to lose its money value over time anyhow. But a picture that you drew of something that reminds you of me is more priceless than something money can buy. It can range from a note or a picture, from a parent to a child, or between siblings, or even something grand like an award at a ceremony or social event. These are all gifts that we receive. Acts of service. This is about doing something specific with your undivided attention. You're not multitasking. You're not distracted. You're focused on giving that moment either to them or to yourself. And when you're performing the act of service, honor the individual that you are performing the act of service for by communicating that to them, or honor it to yourself by really being present in the moment. Acts of service, to a family member or a roommate or a housemate can be doing chores, but honor that by being completely in that chore and being committed to doing it well, and then after it's done, letting them know that it's done. Acts of service to yourself, whether it's putting on makeup, brushing your hair, picking out your clothes, showering. Be in the moment and give that time to yourself. And it's hard to do because we're so used to making our lists, following our agendas, going from task to task to task, to chore to chore to chore, being productive. We're so used to go, 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 and that's how society measures success, and that's how people measure productivity. But what we're forgetting is in each moment, there's a chance for greater realization. There's a chance to honor ourselves. There's a chance to honor those around us. And the more we take time to become aware of these opportunities, the more enriched our lives will be. The more we're able to fill our own emotional tank, and the more it'll be second nature for us to then share these experiences and share these languages of love with other people. Physical touch. So just like what we'll talk about today, physical touch. Once again, with the pandemic and its aftermath, and rules in place by the city, by the government, by public health, we're still not sure what's happening. And because of the possibility of a second wave, or because we're just finding out that it's possible that people can get reinfected after they've been infected in the first place. There's all these things we don't know about COVID, that when we're expressing this love language, physical touch, we really have to pay attention to safety. We really have to honor the safety of those around us. As much as I want to give my dad a hug every time I see him, when I see him, You know, it used to be once a week, but because of isolation, it's been once every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. I want to give us enough time apart that we've isolated and we know that we're okay before we see each other. As much as I want to give him a hug each and every one of these times, I'm still within 6 feet of him because I don't live with him. He is not in my inner bubble. And because he's an elderly individual, and because he has his own respiratory issues, and because he used to be a smoker, and because, I have to be mindful of his safety and mine as well. During this time, physical touch, even though it's a language of love, and I'm all about expressing languages of love and going into deeper meaning with languages of love and feeling the languages of love, physical touch is going to be something that's we're going to have to do more carefully, more mindfully, and we're going to have to be doing it more safely with one another. This gift is a powerful form of communication to show appreciation, belonging, and love. It can be as simple as a pat on the back or shoulder, shaking hands, high five, or a hug. And once again, consider the age, the personality, and the temperament of the individual and determine what kind of physical affirmation that works best. So today I'm going to share with you examples of how to share physical touch with someone if that happens to be their language of love and it happens to be safe to do so. Right? The bottom line is express this in a way that's safe and do only these things if it's safe to do so. I've been able to do some research on the internet. I've been able to go to Google and type in the names of the different love languages and find ideas and lists that they have. The most extensive one was finding words of affirmation. They're everywhere, and you know the examples aren't given, so it's something that you have to come up with. But there's plentiful lists and resources for finding words of affirmation. When you're looking at physical touch and when you're Googling online for ideas to express this love language, not as many. There's only so many ways you can touch someone. There's only so many ways that you can show that kind of attention or that love language. And I also found that as I was doing research and finding things about physical touch, once again, it became very gendered. It was a list for wives to show this love language to their husbands. It was a list for husbands to show this to their wives. It was a list for, between a man and a woman. And it really boggles my mind that there's not enough gender neutral materials and resources out there, and that's fine. Maybe that's my calling. Maybe that's my job in the world, to start providing that, to start putting that out on social media, so that we're no longer just confined in these little boxes of he and she, right? Me using the pronouns they and them, me using the pronoun per, me stepping away and identifying as non-gender binary, right? Me being passionate and focusing my time as I'm searching on the internet and even on social media and on Facebook and looking at the memes that people are sharing, unpacking the gender that comes along with these messages, because we're all human. We all are capable of love. We're all capable of interacting with each other. Multiple humans can make a family together. It doesn't have to be a boy and a girl. And the truth is, it's not limited to just those two binaries. And so much of what's on the internet is still limited that way. And so coming up with this list is a little difficult because of that. You'll notice this list is much shorter. It's about half a page, whereas words of affirmation, I had 5 pages front and back. So that gives you an idea of how even as we're doing research, how the different love languages are being valued and being talked about and being shared in society, on the internet, over social media. And awareness into that, becoming aware of that and just not letting it pass us by is going to be what we need to do, is going to be what we need to be for change to happen, for us to be in a more inclusive space, for us to create that space for one another, so that a child will never have to feel like they're ever in the wrong clothes that they like to wear, or someone will never feel like they're in the wrong occupation because of what was assigned to them at birth. This is a thing of the past, and it is my passion to make these ideas and this ideology history. It's no longer just two, it's everyone. We're all together. It's inclusion. Okay, so some ideas about physical touch. High five, like I said, pat on the back, on the shoulder, back rub. And it doesn't have to be sensual. It doesn't have to be something that's between two lovers. But once again, if you're going to express this to someone that's outside your immediate bubble or outside of people that you live with, be mindful right now. Be mindful about how you're sharing it. Be mindful about how the other person's receiving it. And in fact, if it is an elderly person or someone that does have a pre-existing condition, I would ask for consent. Let's say it's a friend of mine that I haven't seen, who's an older friend, and they're upset because something tragic or sad happened, and I want to console them by rubbing them on their back. I'm gonna ask, may I rub you on your back? Is it okay? And it may sound weird. It may sound weird, but if it's something that's important to them or something that they like, you've given them now the opportunity to ask for it. You've given them now permission to say yes. They're not just going to suddenly turn to you. And for people, especially whose primary language is physical touch, it's very hard to ask for that. You're not going to have a conversation with someone and say, I feel really anxious right now. Can you rub my back for me? You don't hear that. Society doesn't value that kind of frankness, that kind of honesty. But instead, if you are someone now that's aware that this might be something someone needs, and because of the time of COVID and because of what's happening now with the pandemic, ask for permission. And the worst that can happen is no. Or, they say no, but it makes them think, oh, wow, that would have been nice. And so that's something that I'll invite you to do. If you ever see me hang out with my friends, I have several circles of friends who I call chosen family members. I don't live with them, but I have been friends with them long enough to call them chosen family members, to understand the languages of love that's important to them, and to know what they like and what they don't like in terms of, acts of service, in terms of words of affirmation, in terms of quality time, and in terms of physical touch. So sometimes when I'm with, let's say, my chosen family that I went to school with, all graduated from Ryerson, we all did the early childhood education program. Before COVID, we used to hang out and meet once a month somewhere, be it for brunch or dinner, and we would just see one another, we would talk, we would catch up, we'd share stories and pictures of our children, we would bring our children, we would have our significant others, our roommates. We're able to really make a family out of this group together. And you'll find that when I'm with groups of my chosen family members, I will, if I happen to be standing behind someone, it's not unnatural for me to start massaging the back of their neck. It's not unnatural for me unless it's something that they don't like or they've told me, I don't like that, please stop doing that. But usually, having known these individuals long enough and knowing what they do like, what I do get in response is, oh, please don't stop, that feels so good. So physical touch, despite what Google's telling you and despite what you end up finding on the internet, doesn't have to be something that's related to sex or intimacy or between lovers. Between friends is okay. When you have your head on their shoulder, or when you lend your shoulder for them to put their head on, holding hands, cuddling, playing with someone's hair, back rubs, once again, even foot rubs. They're not limited to things that only lovers or spouses or partners can share with each other. It's definitely something that takes more time to explore, and during this time, once again, we need to be safe about, but it can do wonders. It can do wonders. Oftentimes, I really, really like sitting close with someone when we're watching a movie. I like having my hand held. I like hugging someone when I see them. Once again, during this time, we're going to be more mindful about that, and we're gonna do it carefully, and we're gonna do it safely. But these are all things that we can share with one another. Um, Tickle fights, secret handshake, um, you know, and massages, foot rubs, playing footsies. And then if you're more intimate with them, or if you do happen to be lovers with this individual, then there's intimacy, there's sex, there's kissing, there's and all these different ways and loving ways of showing physical touch as a love language. Love is inclusive. Love includes everybody, and I want the resources, and I want things that are on the internet that talk about languages of love, that talk about this kind of interaction to be genderless. So if you have any ideas, or maybe you know someone who works at a publishing company, or maybe you know someone that I can get in touch with to do this kind of work, really unpacking gender in common resources, and in speaking about love, and in finding out about love. And this was a very lovely video talking about physical touch. Thank you so much for joining me on another segment of Mindfulness Moments. And as we leave one another to go do what we have to do, or watch another video, or shower, or eat, I'm going to wish for you honesty. I'm going to wish that you find the honest truth in every moment, in every interaction, that you're able to feel authenticity in yourself, and you're able to radiate that to others. So that's my wish for you today. Namaste. And thank you for watching Mindfulness Moments.